Okay, welcome everyone. This is something new for me doing a video blog about record collecting. If you're watching this, you probably know my name is Rich, and I've been running a jazz blog called Deep Groove Mono for the past 7 years. Around 2017, I kind of got the idea in my head that I really wanted to go for the big fish. I thought to myself, you know what, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go for this, I'm gonna try to budget, I'm gonna start working a little more. But the big change that year was that I bought a copy of Lee Morgan's Candy for $1,000. And it drove me nuts. I just analyzed the shit out of it. I mean, I listened to every single little pop and tick. I cleaned it 20 times probably. I sold it. At the end of the day, I just didn't really feel good having it. And then, over the last few years, I bought a couple other records that were pretty expensive. The more I spent a lot of money on these expensive records, I realized that I wasn't keeping them. I wasn't feeling good about having records that were that expensive. And I've always dealt with jealousy, being on Instagram and seeing all these wealthy collectors, made me feel inadequate as a collector. The kind of person I am, my personality, it made me feel depressed. You want something and you really can't have it. That hadn't really happened a ton to me in my life. There's always been if you want this, well, if you work hard enough, you can get it. I mean, with this too, if I really wanted to work hard enough, maybe I could make it happen. It just got to a point where I just felt like it wasn't even what I wanted. But then I got the idea in late 2019 to get into 78s. And slowly but surely, I came to realize that I was going to be just as disappointed with collecting 78s as I was with LPs. I mean, the LP thing was kind of feeling like I didn't have enough money to be a part of the club. But it was also that, a lot of times these vintage records just didn't really sound as good as I had hoped they would. So I was finding the same issue with 78s, and I was really critical. And again, feeling kind of let down by the hobby, and just kind of getting bummed out on the fact that I had hoped that 78 collecting would be something that I really, it would really define me. But I've recently been going through some changes and having some revelations of sorts. And I decided to get back into making music recently, and having another hobby to pivot to and go back and forth with record collecting definitely just takes a lot of the pressure off, the seriousness, the intensity. So in March, I went to a record store here in New York City for the first time in a while, and I bought a few records, a couple of them rather expensive, and I just kind of felt let down again, and ended up selling 3 out of 4 of them. And once again found myself in this situation where I was feeling depression from collecting and just feeling let down. I went home from that store so excited that I found these records, and then just getting home being like, yeah, no, this isn't what I expected. Something happened after that trip where I thought about all the records I bought, and it turns out that I don't own any record that costs over $150. I've bought dozens of records that costed more than that, and I've never kept any of them. And the cheaper a record is, the less picky I am about it. The less critical I am of it. So the realization recently was that I really shouldn't be buying records over X dollars. A year ago, I said I'm going to only spend this much money every month on records. That was when I was really deep into the 78s and stuff. And I was pretty successful with sticking to that rule, and I've continued to follow that budget. But then, now this new thing where I only spend a max of $150 on any record, this feels good. This feels really right. And for some reason, it's making me think more about just keeping records and not reselling them as much. I think a big part of the purging, the buying and then reselling, is the guilt, not just from spending too much money in general on records, but spending too much money on one record. So if I can always stay in spending within my means, then I don't really feel this like compulsion to get rid of stuff if it's not perfect or it doesn't meet my incredibly high standards or something. You know, like last year I had like all these Thelonious Monk 78, through all the scrutinizing and like all the expectations I put on these records to be like, to fulfill my expectations, and for many of them, most of them really, to come up short. You know, it just it was something that I couldn't let go. I really just couldn't let them sit in my crate after they had let me down as much as they had. So I had to get rid of them, and I regret it, you know. But at the end of the day, the thing is that I want to enjoy collecting, number one, and number two, I don't want to face these moments of regret, you know. So the moral of the story, I think, is that you set a budget and you stick to it, and you can enjoy it a lot more. You can relax a lot more. You know, just put the record on, play it. If it doesn't sound that great, you know, the idea, I think, at this point is you put it in your crate, you file it. Maybe you come across a better copy in the future, you upgrade. I'm just really excited to approach this this new era of collecting for me. It's like a new chapter for me, and I think my collection is going to grow, and most importantly, I think I'm going to enjoy collecting more now. And it's going to have a lot to do with just not taking it so seriously. Well, that's all for now. Stay tuned. I'll be back next week with another episode. And keep an eye on the blog for my posts, and we'll see you next time.